My name is Jessica Miller, and I grew up in Portland, Oregon, before moving to Seattle in my early 20s for college. That's where I met Daniel Hayes. Daniel was a quiet, intelligent man with an engineer's mind and an artist's heart. I was drawn to him because he had this calmness about him. Like no matter how stressful the world got, he could always anchor you back into peace. We met in a local coffee shop near campus. I was buried under a pile of books, frustrated, and muttering under my breath when he slid a fresh cup of coffee across the table with a small smile. "You look like you need this more than I do," he said. That one simple act of kindness turned into hours of conversation. By the end of the week, we were inseparable. Our love grew fast but steady. We got married after graduation, in a small ceremony with close family and friends. We weren't rich, but we were happy. We moved into a modest apartment in Seattle, and Daniel worked at an engineering firm while I pursued a career in marketing. For years, life felt almost perfect. He was patient, supportive, and never forgot the little things that mattered, like bringing me flowers on random Tuesdays or making sure my favorite tea was stocked. But sometimes, when everything seems too good, you forget how fragile happiness can be. And that's where my story takes a darker turn. It started at work. I had recently been promoted to a senior position at my marketing firm. The promotion came with more money, more responsibility, and unfortunately, more time away from home. My new boss, Richard, was charismatic and confident in a way Daniel wasn't. He was the kind of man who commanded a room just by walking into it. At first, it was just admiration from a distance. He'd compliment my work, we'd chat casually during lunch, and he always knew exactly what to say to make me feel like I was the most capable person in the building. Looking back now, I know that's how it always starts, not with a dramatic choice, but with small, subtle steps. I let myself believe that his attention meant something special. I convinced myself it was harmless to enjoy it. One evening after a long project, Richard suggested celebrating with drinks. I told myself it was just professional, nothing personal. But then one drink turned into two, and conversation slipped from work topics into personal lives. He leaned in, his words wrapped in charm, and I let myself cross lines I should never have approached. I cheated. I thought Daniel would never find out. He was always so trusting, so wrapped up in his projects, and I convinced myself that my marriage was strong enough to withstand a mistake I swore I'd keep buried. I told myself it was just one lapse in judgment, that I could compartmentalize it and move on. But guilt is a shadow that never leaves. At home, Daniel noticed I was distracted, checking my phone more often, suddenly working late more than usual. He never accused me, but I could see the questions in his eyes. The man who once looked at me with pure admiration now studied me with quiet unease. One night, he asked me directly, "Jess, is there something you're not telling me?" I laughed it off, hugged him, and swore everything was fine. He wanted to believe me, so he did. Or at least, I thought he did. Weeks passed, and I continued to hide my secret, thinking I was safe. But what I didn't know was that Daniel was far more observant than I ever gave him credit for. He didn't argue, he didn't pry, he watched. Then, one Friday evening, I came home from work and found an envelope on the kitchen table. Inside were photographs, me and Richard, caught in moments I thought were private. My stomach dropped, and I felt the room spin around me. Daniel stepped out from the hallway, his face calm but his eyes cold. "I wanted to give you a chance to tell me," he said softly. "But I guess you never planned to." I broke down, sobbing, begging him to forgive me, telling him it was a mistake, that it meant nothing. But he didn't shout, he didn't throw things, he just stood there, and that silence cut deeper than any anger could have. Then came his revenge. Daniel didn't humiliate me publicly. He didn't scream or curse. Instead, he quietly began to detach from me. He packed a small bag and left to stay with a friend. The next morning, he sent me an email, not an angry one, but a resignation letter from our marriage. It detailed everything he had discovered, but instead of accusations, it was filled with clarity. He explained that he had already spoken with a lawyer and that he'd be filing for divorce. But here was the twist I never expected. Daniel didn't just walk away. He thrived. Over the following months, I saw from afar how he rebuilt his life. He moved into a beautiful loft in downtown Seattle, started traveling for work, and even began showcasing his artwork at local galleries, something he had always dreamed of doing but never had the courage for when we were together. His career flourished, his confidence grew, and soon enough I heard through mutual friends that he had started dating someone new. She was kind, supportive, and from what everyone said, she adored him in a way I had failed to. Meanwhile, my own world crumbled. My affair with Richard ended quickly once the secrecy was gone. Turns out he wasn't interested in me outside of the thrill. My reputation at work suffered, whispers followed me, and though no one said it to my face, I could feel the judgment in every meeting. I lost Daniel, the man who had loved me unconditionally, for nothing more than a fleeting illusion. The perfect revenge wasn't dramatic or cruel, it was watching him succeed without me. Watching him live the life we had once dreamed of together, only now I was just a spectator, not a partner. I see him sometimes in the city. Once I saw him at Pike Place Market, laughing with his new girlfriend, holding her hand the way he used to hold mine. He looked happy, truly happy, and when his eyes met mine across the crowd, there was no anger, no bitterness, just indifference. That hurt the most, because indifference means he no longer cares. And that was the perfect revenge. If there's one thing I learned, it's this: betrayal doesn't just break trust, it shatters futures. I thought I was untouchable, that my secret would stay hidden. But the truth has a way of surfacing, and when it does, it takes everything with it. And now, I live with the memory of the man I once had, and the painful knowledge that he's better off without me.